City of Stevens Point Common Council meeting, recorded June 19, 2023.
At 7 o'clock, we will call the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. Clerk, could I please get a roll in a less poetic way?
Christensen.
Here.
Shore.
Here.
Keemer.
Here.
Zarazua.
Here.
Burr.
Here.
Plassance.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Shuda.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Fischler.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
And everyone is present. If you would please join me in our salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for coming out on such a lovely night when there's tons of other things to do. First thing, alderpersons, you may notice that you have a large blue book seated in front of you. Those are blue books, coincidentally. This one is last year's. Next year's will be out soon, but it had been a tradition for our state representatives to hand out blue books. The physical copy portion has kind of gone away because everything's online these days. But in talking with Representative Shanklin, she said she had them, and I said, well, it would be great if we kind of rekindled that tradition. So they're filled with tons of information in regards to basically everything that goes on in the state. When the new ones are published very shortly, you will get new ones delivered by Representative Katrina Shanklin. But for now, these are yours to keep and study, and then we'll have a test at some point in the near. No, we won't have a test. But they are yours, compliments of Representative Katrina Shanklin. As you probably heard, the governor is going to be signing the shared revenue bill. We don't know exactly what that means for the city of Stevens Point yet, but we're in the process of getting that figured out. We're looking at potentially about $600,000 to $700,000 in returned shared revenue. This isn't an additional tax, and I'm saying this mostly for the people watching. This is money that we as citizens already pay into the state, that the state is actually giving back to those local municipalities. It looks like they're going to be doing it very likely based on population and some other factors, but that should be signed into law tomorrow, and then we'll be in the process of moving forward with whatever that means for us. Now, we as a council have already been taking measures in anticipation of this happening. The first one that I think is most important is our compensation survey, which is going on or getting started now. You all know that our employees are our biggest asset, and with last year's cost of living far exceeding what we were even able to legally increase taxes, I think this is going to go a little ways to making sure that our employees are properly compensated based on the jobs they do. We also know that 2024 is an election year, so at least for the first year, some of that is going to have to be allocated to the clerk's budget, and we know we have an increase in IT contracted services, so the first year it's going to go into there. So I'm glad that we've got an increase in our shared revenue that has been going on a decline ever since, 15 years now probably, right, Corey? So getting some of that back that we were supposed to be getting all along is a big help, and most importantly, that means no new taxes for this one, or no tax increases for the residents of Stevens Point. That also brings me to our revaluation. As you know, we've been conducting a revaluation on all city properties, and letters are going out later this week to all property owners informing them of the results. Now, a revaluation is, let's see if I can put it in the least complicated way. Your house has a value, right? If I have a house and I can sell it for $100,000, the value is $100,000. Generally speaking, the appraisal and the assessment should be equal, but the market fluctuates so much that it never is. And as a homeowner, you want your appraisal high, but your assessment low. Your assessment is what you pay your property taxes on. Appraisal is what you can sell it for. But ideally, they should be pretty close to the same. And they never are. But we are required by the state to make sure that our values and market values fall within a certain range. Generally, that's 90% of value to 110% of value. So if you have a $100,000 home, we could assess you at $110,000 and still be compliant with the law. We've never, ever done that, and as much as I can tell, we never will. We try to get as close as we can to 100%, and then, of course, depending on the market, it goes up and down from there. But we're required to do it periodically, and this is one of those years. So you may see some significant increases simply because the market has demanded it. The home values have gone up, and we all buy our houses as an asset. We don't expect it to depreciate. We all expect it to appreciate. So this is going to tell us how much it's appreciated in I think the last time we did it was about 5 years ago, Corey? Right. 5 years ago. So whatever has changed in your home value since then will likely be reflected in that letter you're going to get later this week or early next week. That does not tie directly into how much you're going to pay in taxes. That will be decided by this body. Over the course of the next couple of months, we're going to get started on the capital budget here shortly, and then operational, hoping to have everybody get that approved later this year so tax bills can go out in December. That being said, next week, we've got this little mini golf event coming up. The USGA Men's Senior Open is coming. Tens of thousands of people, millions of dollars being injected into our community. Yes, there's going to be a lot more people in the city than we usually have. I would ask for everybody's patience and cooperation. We want to make sure that our visitors see Stevens Point as we are, a very welcoming, accepting, friendly, activity-filled community. So I would ask everybody's patience. With traffic, you're going to see a lot of people that don't know where they're going. And they're probably going to go slow and maybe accidentally turn in front of you to get to where they need to go. Be patient, please. We want to make sure that they have a very successful event. And on top of that, we have Riverfront Rendezvous coming up. All of the information's available. The brochures are printed. They'll be out shortly of all the entertainment that's going on for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the 4th of July weekend. We're going to have some fabulous bands, fabulous entertainment, and of course, probably a couple thousand extra people this year because of the USGA Men's Senior Open. But as I said, we want to make sure everybody has a great time, and we want them to see what Stevens Point really is like. That leads me to the next thing. Over the past 2 weeks, we've had two very successful, culturally diverse events. We had a very successful Pride Festival at Piffner Pioneer Park. Hundreds and hundreds of people getting together to enjoy a day of celebration, music, entertainment, and event-free. And then this past Saturday, we had celebrated Juneteenth, also at Piffner Pioneer Park. Again, a very well-attended, successful event. And I love the fact that we have these types of events in our community. Being able to understand, to learn, to grow to appreciate the diversity in our community is extremely important. It's not for everyone, I understand that. But the cool thing about it is if you don't like something, you don't have to go. We're not forcing anybody's beliefs on anyone else, and we expect the same in return. That's the way it works. We've got people who are unsheltered, hanging out downtown. It's not illegal to hang out downtown. We've got people on street corners asking for money. If you choose not to give them any money, don't. And if you choose to give them something, that's your prerogative as well. As long as people aren't doing anything illegal or violating someone else's rights, there shouldn't be a problem with it. And I just wanted to stress that because I know there's some controversy surrounding some of our more recent events, but we also celebrated Flag Day. We celebrate Veterans Day, Memorial Day. Armistice Day, of course, in November was switched to Veterans Day. Veterans Day. And we celebrate all sorts of things. June is also Dairy Month, yes, and it's about a half a dozen other different things. We celebrate all of those, and I hope that people remember that and have a little patience and respect for our fellow human beings. That being said, I am done flapping my lips. And now we move on to item number 3. Persons who wish to address the mayor and council on a specific agenda item other than a public hearing should register their request at this time. Is there anyone wishing to speak on a non-agenda item that has not registered? McKenna, you want to bring those up then, please? And we will move right into item number 4, which is persons who wish to address the mayor and council for up to 3 minutes. And Carrie's got the timer. So we will start with Sandra Bystrom. I assume it means public comment. You say pride event, but I assume that means 3 minutes on a non-agenda item? Yeah. You are up.
Hi. Thank you. I'm here to talk about the Pride event held at Piffner Park. We previously spoke here about concerns for the children and the ideology connected to this event, and we asked that it not be held in our community, but unfortunately the event went on as planned. We attended it, my husband and I, and this council body let this event go through, and I'm still wondering where most of you were, but Mayor Wiese was there. Well, Marshfield Clinic, Marshfield, they had transition information there. Invent Health had free HIV screening. There was a PACE program for all-inclusive care for elderly. But the most concerning for me was the man selling the book Promoting Marxism. And he was very proud to be there to promote Marxism in America. That's one step closer to communism. As Mayor Wiese passed Mark and I asked him if he was proud of this event, and he happily and loudly professed that he was. Very proud of it. During the Kitty Drag show, children lined up in front of the stage with dollar bills, hoping their money would be accepted by Nemo and Andy, and they were. Children were waving money like it was a strip show.
Been to strip shows?
It was like a strip show. How dare you?
How do you know?
How dare you say that to me? You're on my minute. The ideology that was openly promoted was brought into our community, and I want to read a poem. On her way to work one morning down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with dew. "Oh, well," she cried, "I'll take you in and I'll take care of you." She wrapped him up all cozy in the curvature of silk and then laid him by the fireside with some honey and some milk. Now she hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in and had revived it, and she clutched him to her bosom and said, "You're so beautiful, but if I hadn't brought you in by now, you might have died." So she stroked his pretty skin, and she kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying thanks, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "I saved you," cried the woman, "and you bit me even. Why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake when you took me in. The Pride event and the Kitty Drag show and Marxism is unacceptable here and in America, and you knew damn well it was a snake before you let it in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra from Plover. Next up, Keith Kudrowski.
Keith Kudrowski. Today's June 19th. Juneteenth. The diverse and inclusive city council desecrates the holiday by having a meeting. Seriously. Anyhow, I also want to talk about last month's meeting. There are about 30 people here, and they all did what the thing says. Addressed the mayor and the council for up to 3 minutes. And then there were 2 people who chose to preach to the 30 people, and you never stopped them. If I start speaking at Sandra saying I didn't like that poem, you should stop me, but you didn't. So you usually hold pretty good decorum. I was shocked. I also want to ask my elder, I hear all this about these cheap federal loans that you're going to get for us. You're retired. How's that going? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number, that exhausts the speaker list, and item number 5 is a presentation to the mayor and council. And we have with us Rick Yonke, who is the Community Engagement Coordinator for ECDC, the Multicultural Community Center, working very closely with refugees, and of course, Eric and I have worked together with a few families. It's a great community service, and I was just hoping you could give us an update on the refugees and what's going on.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So as you mentioned, I'm Rick Yonke, and I work with ECDC. I also live in Stevens Point. I've lived here for over 30 years, retired from the university, and so now I'm working full-time on refugee resettlement in the area. Just wanted to give you an update, like Mayor Wiesa said. We opened our doors in November of 2021, and right amidst the Afghan crisis. And so as we began with refugee resettlement, the first thing we did was work on resettling Afghans, but our job is a broader mandate than that. We're here to settle about 175 refugees a year in the region, so not all in Stevens Point. In fact, about a third of that number is what we usually try to figure we can settle within the Stevens Point area. We work with a variety of folks. We're a branch of a national organization that was started by Ethiopians, refugees and immigrants about 40 years ago. And in 1990 is when they actually were given the mandate from the federal government to help with general refugee resettlement. So we've been settling folks from Afghanistan as well as some Eastern African folks as well. So for instance, in Stevens Point, we have a few families that are from the Congo. In Wausau, we have some families that are from Burundi as well as the Congo. In Point, we do have a gentleman from Sudan, some things you might have been hearing about in the news. We have had a couple of Syrian families in Stevens Point, but they out-migrated pretty quickly. They joined the bigger kind of communities in Chicago and Milwaukee. And then most recently, we've been having some folks come to us because of the situation in Myanmar, formerly Burma, the Rohingya population. So we are receiving some folks who are also Rohingyan, and that's a Muslim minority group that has been persecuted very viciously for decades. And just a little note on that, because Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services in the Milwaukee area have been working with the Rohingya population for a decade or so, Milwaukee now has the largest Rohingya population of any place in the United States. It's sort of it's a hub. So we are receiving some folks who are coming to us from Southeast Asia, from Myanmar, but most of them are moving to Milwaukee to join the community there. So we have kind of a mix of folks coming and going. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a note to give you a sense of what we're doing each year. At this point in the year, we're kind of halfway through our numbers. So we still have another maybe like 80 or so folks that will be settling in the area between Wausau, Stevens Point, and Marshfield is kind of where we're situated right now. We are looking at other communities, but the main things we look at are, what are the housing opportunities, what are the job opportunities, what's transportation like? Those are the big things that we have to work on in helping refugees start their new lives in the United States. A couple of things, too, I just wanted to help clarify for the general population, and again, if any folks are asking you questions, in your districts, the refugees that we work with are all legal residents of the United States when they come. They go through about a 2-year vetting process, minimally 2 years, that they go through with the State Department, federal government sort of screening process, health processes, that sort of thing. And so when they come, after a very long process of waiting, they receive a visa status that keeps them here as legal residents until they can apply again once they're here. And I think a lot of you might know, you have to live in the United States physically for at least 5 years before you can even apply to be a citizen. So a lot of them are looking at that and would like to get there, but you got to live in the country for 5 years before you can actually become a full citizen. In the meantime, though, they're legal residents. They pay taxes. They pay in Social Security. They do all the things that we do. And if anything, they're very eager to find work and get their families sort of established. So they're really kind of lovely people to work with. Other thing I want to kind of comment on for the sake of the council is recently there's been some panhandling going on in Stevens Stevens Point, and it hasn't been just Stevens Point with folks holding up signs that, say refugee, please, please help me. We've checked in the other communities in the area, and we checked with the state refugee coordinator office to see what was going on, if they knew anything. And what we learned was that there is a Romani American population that is kind of moving through Wisconsin right now, and they are panhandling. They are not technically refugees, and if you know anything about the Roma community, they're migratory folks, and they really don't want to be tied into any agencies. They are very independent folks. And so we approached them and asked them if they need any help, but they don't want to talk to us, because again, they're not actually refugees. They are here under other auspices. So again, if you have any questions, feel free, obviously, to contact me. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Last thing I wanted to say, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions, is tomorrow is actually the official World Refugee Day in the United States, June 20th. It's actually internationally World Refugee Day. And our refugee families, along with some of the folks that support them, are going to be doing a get-together in the Piffner building over in Piffner Pioneer Park, starting at 5 o'clock. You are all welcome to come. They're going to do a potluck as part of it, but we're also going to be showing some films that were made by a local filmmaker, very short. They're about 5 minutes a piece, so the whole thing takes about 20 minutes, that are about 3 women that have settled in central Wisconsin as part of this refugee process over the last couple of years. And so we're going to have those films, and we're going to talk about them, and so we would be really delighted if you could join us. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. And if someone wanted, let's say, to offer help, because first of all, I want to thank you, your entire team, all of the fabulous volunteer sponsors that help resettle these refugees. But if someone wanted to get involved in a bigger, deeper level, how could they contact your office?
The easiest way is to contact me. I'd say the easiest way to find me is ECDCwausau.org. We have a webpage. We've got sort of a way you can link up there to find out more information and to connect with me. I can leave my cards if anybody's interested in having kind of direct contact. But ECDC, not ACDC, ECDC Wausau, all one word, .org is our website, and I'd love to hear from folks because we've had a great support from the faith communities and civic orgs and groups in town here have been really welcoming and wonderful for the families, and but we always need more help, so we'd be glad to hear from you.
And Eric, I've got the recognition, the proclamation declaring World Refugee Day. I'll bring it tomorrow with me.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Yeah. All right, our consent agenda is item number 6. Does anybody have anything they wish to pull from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Yes, we have a motion to approve, seconded by Kneebone. Shuda?
Sure.
You pick.
Doesn't matter.
Take some artistic liberty there, Clerk Cantor.
Give it to Dean. He's low key.
Discussion? Discussion? Comments from the audience?
We'll give you the next one.
Hearing none, all those in, roll call, please.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Kiemer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Plassance.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Morrow.
And that is approved. Item number 7 is an ordinance amendment, a request from the City of Stevens Point to amend Chapter 22 of the Historic Preservation and Design Review Ordinance of the Revised Municipal Code of the City of Stevens Point. I tried to do it in one breath and I couldn't. Said request amends Section 22.05 for the purpose of defining the term mural and creates a subsection 2207 for the purpose of establishing guidelines for the paintings of murals on historic buildings. We have a motion?
I would move approval of that.
Motion by Christensen, seconded by Burr. Discussion? Yes.
I had a question about in
There he
the
is.
actual ordinance itself, Section 2, Number 2, Design Standards, Item 8. It says, no mural may be located on elevations that directly face or are parallel to sidewalks and public rights-of-way. Which it would seem that, the RBG mural on the north end of the square, I guess north.
Yep, that's north.
Thanks. Or the one on the southeast corner of 3rd and Clark, that's along Father Fat's. Would those no longer be allowed with these ordinance revisions?
Director?
The intention of that was to prevent historic facades from being painted over. I don't think that necessarily falls within that. You could always amend it to allow for, I'll say, anything off of Main Street, which is really where our main concern is.
Okay.
You know, if you wanted to put a mural like where we have the City of Wonderful Water on 3rd and Clark, you know, you could make that amendment to be more specific, but the intention was to prevent the Main Street corridor from being painted over the historic buildings.
Okay, very good.
The facades.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, yes,
Oh, just a comment. I really thought it was interesting because I wondered how we would do any repainting of those in the future. And then, you know, I thought it was great that they had, you know, mentioned taking a picture of it when they submitted the outline for the artwork. So I thought that was great.
well, I can give you some other information because the mural that was on the post office was painted on plywood. We had to take it down to do some tuck pointing, and we can't put it back up. But we do have a great, I don't know if it's a photograph, but we know what the photo or the mural looked like in its prime. The pieces are still sitting in our storage area, so if someone wanted to create it, we have all the abilities to do that. The door on the side of Buffy's with the downtown market mural, that it had rusted through it. The term of the contract had long since expired, but working with the owner, he agreed to put up a new door, and he'd pay for the door, and we paid for, well, not we, the mural fund paid for the recreation of that piece of the mural. The next one that's going to be up on the docket is the Riverman mural. That commitment contract expires in 2024, but if you drive by, you can already see pieces of it falling off. I'm working with the property owner to get something else created when that Riverman mural comes down, something else created that's not attached to the building. But yeah, all of these things, you know, they've been on there for a lot of years, and recreating them could be a challenge. But I think the spirit of the ordinance is such that it would allow these things to happen while still protecting the historic facade, as Director Karnowski said.
Yeah, and if you read B, C, and B and C, that addresses maybe your concern of, you could still do this like the City of Wonderful Water mural because it's not on the primary frontage, and so it would be allowed, and that the B and C subsection, I guess, would allow for murals to be on the sides of buildings or in the rear.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Comments from the audience? Hearing none. Clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Plassance.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 8 is a resolution, a request from Rick Katz, representing MIPAR LLC, for a conditional use permit to construct a car wash on the property located at 1305 Wildwood Drive at the parcel identified in your packet, consistent with Chapter 23.02, Sub 2, Sub E, Sub 3, Sub E, not to be confused with ECDC.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Kneebone.
Second.
Second by Morrow. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Plassance.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 9 is approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with AARP for a Community Challenge Grant.
Move to approve.
Moved by Zarazua, seconded by Keimer. Discussion? Comments from the audience? Hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Plassance.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 10 is a request to swap 5,625 square feet of private property located at 741 North Division. Jesus, let me start over. Request to swap 5,625 square feet of private property located at 741 2nd Street North, with the parcel identified in your packet, in exchange for 7,125 square feet of public park property located at 813 2nd Street North. Again, the parcel identified in your packet. You may recall this is part of the proposed expansion of the Green Circle Trail, allowing public access and then allowing a business to expand in exchange for that That's what we're considering here.
So moved.
Moved by Morrow, seconded by Shore. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Shore.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Plassance.
Aye.
Nebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Our agenda is exhausted, and we are adjourned at 7:30.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.